Are you trying to decide on what horror movie to watch next? Let me save you hours of doom scrolling by presenting you with 7 killer horror movies currently streaming on Shudder, so you know what to watch tonight. Welcome into the Nonstop Horror YouTube channel. My name is Cameron, and although October just ended, we as dedicated horror fans know that it's spooky season all year long. Like the video if you agree with that statement. Now, I have been watching horror movies for over 20 years, and I love nothing more than finding the best of the best for you to watch in today's streaming age. We are once again looking at Shudder today, which is still by far the best bang for your buck when it comes to horror. It's like $8 a month, so it's way cheaper than most other streaming services. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy talking about horror movies all year long. I am so close to 10,000 subscribers, it ain't even funny, and I know we can get there before the year ends. Now enough yapping, let's get to that list. Deadmail is a psychological crime horror movie from 2024, and it's an underrated gem that isn't being talked about a whole lot yet. So you're getting in on the ground floor here. This film is a Shudder original, and it's got a really small unknown team attached to it as well. So if you like the feel of an indie horror film, I have a good feeling that you'll dig this one. This is great for fans of the 80s with a heavy emphasis on the synth music from the 80s. An ominous help note finds its way into a 1980s post office connecting a dead letter investigator to a kidnapped keyboard technician. Now the term dead mail or dead letter refers to mail that can't be delivered to the addressee or returned to the sender. So it's kind of this random piece of mail that ends up in the post office. So we spend a lot of time with this kidnapper, this keyboard technician, and the team that is trying to solve this kidnapping and save the dude. The highlight of the film is its grittiness and retro aesthetic, but the acting is worth noting as well. This small ensemble really work well together to bring together a story that intrigues and keeps you captivated the entire time. Without saying too much, you might leave this one wanting a little more depth out of the characters, the motives, and ultimately the ending, but what Deadmail lacks in substance, it makes up for in its style. You get this underlying uncanny feel throughout the film, and it's kind of one of those movies where one moment you feel bad for the villain, and then the next moment you're genuinely creeped out by the guy. Night of the Reaper is a 2025 slasher film directed by Brandon Christensen, who directed movies like The Puppet Man, Superhost, and Z. It's a great homage to classic slashers, and it might even lean a little bit too much into that homage, and as a result feel too familiar for seasoned veterans, but I personally think that they balance it out really well. So college student Dina visits home and is roped into babysitting. The local sheriff is mailed a piece of evidence and is led on a scavenger hunt to reveal the killer of another babysitter. The sheriff keeps coming across these snuff films that are left behind by the killer, and he uses these tapes to find the mysterious villain. This film is just really well shot, and I love the way it looks. It's a bit juvenile in tone, like it doesn't take itself too seriously, and might be good for people who don't watch horror movies all of the time. And in that same vein, it could be a great intro horror movie because it does play into a lot of the cliches and tropes that we see in traditional slashers. When it comes to the writing of this film, don't put too much thought into it, okay? You can poke so many holes into this plot, and it'll anger you if you think about it too much. So this is just kind of a great turn your brain off type slasher. We've got to show some respect to these filmmakers who are bringing the earlier decades into modern horror. Supporting films like this is what keeps the spirit of our favorite horror movies alive. Okay, so this is one of my hottest takes when it comes to horror. Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2 is a killer good time, and it is a fun movie. In this sequel to the Blair Witch Project, a group of college students who are super fans of the original Blair Witch Project head into the woods to visit the area where the original was shot. As the adventure goes awry, the students realize that an evil being has followed them home. Jeffrey Donovan actually plays this witch hunt tour guide, and he is absolutely magnetic whenever he's on a TV screen, and that is no different here. He really takes the lead in this one, and the chemistry between the actors is phenomenal. The movie plays out as this group having a fun night in the woods, and then later uncovering events that happened during the night that they have no recollection of happening. At times, this movie is creepy, sexy, intriguing, and mysterious, but ultimately it earns the description of one of the best movies depicting a mass descent into madness. If you owned the DVD of Book of Shadows, you were absolutely spoiled. There's this featurette that was on there called The Secret of Ezravir, which highlighted hidden messages and images that are sprinkled throughout the movie. Since this is streaming, make sure to look up those DVD extras on YouTube so you can have your own mind blown with those extras. Although the movie was poorly reviewed by critics, it brought in over $47 million at the box office against its $15 million budget. The soundtrack to this movie is the cherry on top, featuring several alt-rock and metal outfits like System of a Down, POD, Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie. It's the type of soundtrack for which I am an absolute sucker. So, side note, along with Book of Shadows, the original Blair Witch Project, and the 2016 sequel were just added to Shudder as well, so you can have yourself a little Blair Witch marathon if you want. Dangerous Animals is a thriller slasher released this year coming out of Australia. A savvy and free-spirited surfer is abducted by a shark-obsessed serial killer. Held captive on his boat, she must figure out how to escape before he carries out a ritualistic feeding to the sharks below. This movie is probably the biggest surprise of 2025 so far. I thought it was going to be a cheesy throwaway horror movie, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Dangerous Animals is shaping up to be one of the best horror movies of the year. It's currently in my top 10, as can be seen in the best horror movies of the year so far video, which you can check out up here. And one of the best things about Dangerous Animals is we get quite possibly the best final girl of the year in our main character, Zephyr. Now, don't go into this movie thinking the sharks are the main storyline or antagonist, but really more so a backdrop and accessory to the true horror of the film. Men. If you've ever wondered what a mashup of serial killer thriller and shark thriller would look like, all you need to do is check out Dangerous Animals. I've described this one as Jaws meets Creep, and I'm quite proud of that description. I think it's the perfect way to prepare someone for this movie. The ending gets a bit corny for me, but those last 10 minutes or so don't wash the movie down too much. The Ugly Stepsister. I've talked about this movie a few times this year already, but not in a Shudder specific video. This is top 5, possibly top 3 best horror movies of the year so far, so this is kind of a big deal. This masterpiece of a horror film debuted at Sundance Film Festival, and I think there was a small theatrical release. I don't recall if it was nationwide. I might just not have been super aware of the film yet, but I would have loved to see this in the theater. The Ugly Stepsister retells a story as old as time, the old motif of Cinderella, but told from the stepsister's point of view. As in the classic tale, there is a prince who is in need of a wife, and he plans a ball for all of his suitors to attend so he can pick the fairest of them all. Our main character, Elvira, battles to compete with her incredibly beautiful stepsister, and she will go to any length to catch the prince's eye. Well, really, it's her mother who will go to any length, which is a big part of the movie. Body horror lovers rejoice. This movie has its body horror moments that make you wince and cringe. It's also labeled as a black comedy, so expect some cheeky humor and smiles throughout as well. It is shot beautifully, oozing with that old Victorian style and vibe. This is also the directorial debut from Emily Blichfeld, I think is how you pronounce it. And yeah, that just makes it so much more impressive. And speaking of the director, there is a great interview that James and Chelsea from Dead Meat hosted with the director. Definitely worth checking out. It's a wonderful interview. The tone and style of editing of the trailer has the substance written all over it. They were definitely trying to draw in that same audience, and while the underlying themes of the two movies do overlap, I wouldn't tell someone, hey, if you like the substance, go watch The Ugly Stepsister. And the director kind of says the same thing herself in that interview that I referenced, noting that her movie is not as stuffed with body horror as The Substance. I think there's still enough disconnect in the plot and tone of the movies to keep them pretty, completely separate. But yeah, definitely check out this movie before the end of the year. So Tropic came out in 2022, and it's a very hidden gem that I randomly came across on Shudder maybe earlier this year or late last year. And I was mesmerized by the film. And when I say it's a hidden gem, I truly mean it. It has 308 reviews currently over on IMDb, and it's 3 years old, so not a lot of talk about this one online. This takes place in France. The year is 2041, and it's about two twin brothers who are training to become astronauts, and they start going through some troubling times when one of them is contaminated with a mysterious residue from space. So the twin who comes into contact with that residue, his dreams of becoming an astronaut are suddenly wiped away, and it's a really gut-wrenching and tragic story overall here with Tropic. We experience the fallout of this tragedy and how the unaffected brother tries to push forward despite not having his brother as his training partner anymore. The movie follows this chapter structure, which is really interesting. I believe there are 3 or 4 chapters, so it's really easy to digest that way. This is probably the least scary movie on the list. Like I said, it's very tragic and kind of melancholic, so don't go into it expecting demons or serial killers. It definitely leans more towards a psychological thriller, and it's very heavy on the family drama. The Borderlands is for the found footage hounds in the audience, and you may also see this referred to as Final Prayer. The Borderlands is the original title of it, and then I guess they had to switch the name up and released in the US, and so it's Final Prayer in the US, but on Shudder it will pop up as The Borderlands. Vatican investigators are sent to the British West Country to investigate paranormal activity, and they find the events are more disturbing than they first imagined. The story is told through the findings of these investigators as they try to get to the root of what is happening at this church. One is very skeptic and the other not so much, so it's great seeing their theories combined with their findings as they unravel this mystery. The foundation of this film hinges on the two main leads. They kind of hold everything together and have such an easygoing chemistry that just feels really natural. It doesn't really feel like they're acting really. And the movie does a good job of building up tension and avoiding the traps of horror movie cliches. There is very little use of visual effects, which means the quality of the film comes from its writing and acting, as well as building that eerie atmosphere and tension. Now, this is also a slow burn horror movie as well, but the payoff is well worth it. And it's one of those unexpected endings that will have you thinking about it and pondering the rest of the film for weeks after. As a special treat to those of you who have made it this far in the video, I've actually got an honorable mention, and this is a new TV show on Shudder that has really gripped me so far, to the point that I want to just consume all of the episodes right now, but it's just airing weekly. But at this point, I think there are 4 or 5 episodes out that you can go check out already. It's called Guts and Glory. It's from Greg Nicotero, and it teeters on the edge of making you think it might be like a type of found footage horror movie, but then it's clear that no, it is just a game show. Nicotero actually shows up at one point, and yeah, it's like Survivor meets Fear Factor. Or as Greg Nicotero puts it himself, I think he says that it's like Survivor and the Blair Witch Project if they combined into one entity and became one thing. The show is a little bit cheesy, and there are some points, like I said, where you kind of think it's maybe staged a little bit, and you know, all these game shows are staged to a certain point, but you just start to question what's real and what is fake kind of thing. It's really interesting. I think you should go check it out. It's really fun. There's probably going to be a total of 7-ish episodes, I think. There are 4. We've got 4 already, and there's, you know, people are eliminated every week, and I think there are like 4 remaining contestants. So maybe 4 more, maybe 3 more episodes would make sense. But anyway, it's a real good time. I think you should go check it out. As always, you can't really go wrong when you open up Shudder, but this list will help you shave a little bit of time from doom scrolling, give you a couple options for tonight or this weekend. Check out any of the movies on this list and you'll have a good time. But if you're still looking for more horror movies to watch tonight, check out this playlist where I have videos talking about all the major streaming platforms. There's no shortage of horror movie recommendations over there. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy talking about horror movies all year long. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.